you have a chapter that is also really painful about the intrusion into
Yeah.
everyday life. And you started to talk about this earlier, but I want it to be tangible for folks, because some people be like, what are you talking about? We have Oprah and Barack Obama, and we're Kamala. We're moving on up. Like, where do we see caste in everyday American life?
It is, it shows up in the places where you least expect it. There's so many examples in that section, as you know. The story that I tell, of course, is when I was a reporter, a national correspondent for the New York Times. And I made a call to interview this man at one of these retail establishments in Chicago. And he was a manager of the store. And I made arrangements to interview all these other people, all over the phone, and everybody was fine with it. Everybody was excited to be interviewed in the New York Times. I interviewed all these people during the day, and then I got to the last one that late that afternoon, and the place was empty. There was no one there. It was a quiet time of the day, and the man I was supposed to interview wasn't there yet. The clerk there says, he should be here any minute. He's running late. You can just wait for him here. He'll be here any minute. So minutes later, the man comes in. He is flustered. He's anxious. He's running late. He knows that he's very expectant because he knows there's this interview that he's supposed to have. He's very clearly preparing for this interview. So the clerk tells me to go up to him and introduce myself because, this is the man. And so I go up to him and I say, hi, I'm here, Isabel Wilkerson with the New York Times to interview you. He said, he didn't even hear me. He just said, I can't talk to you right now. I'm waiting. I'm here getting ready for a very important interview. I can't talk to you right now. And I said, I'm the person to interview. I'm Isabel Wilkerson with the New York Times. And he said, well, how do I know that? And that I made the appointment with you. I'm here to interview you. He said, well, do you have a business card? And I didn't have one. It was the end of the day. Most people don't even ask. And so had not even occurred to me to even necessarily go back and get one just for this one last interview. And I said, no, I don't happen to have one, but I'm here to interview you. We're already running late. I'm here to interview you. He said, well, do you have some ID? I need to see some ID first. And I said, I shouldn't have to show you ID, but here's my driver's license, and you can see my name. And so he said, you don't have anything with the New York Times on it? And I said, I am here to interview you. Nobody else is here. We have at 4:30. Here it is, 4:45, whatever time it was. We should be in the middle of the interview right now. There's nobody. I am with the New York Times. And he said, I'm going to have to ask you to leave because the New York Times will be here any minute and I have to get ready for this interview. So I left. I had no,
Did the New York Times ever show up?
I have to just say no.
But I mean, a person, so that told you where his mindset was at. But at the same time, and not to be argumentative, because I fully embrace the thesis, but you are, Warmth of Other Suns, you are New York Times, you are an established intellectual in America. So in a way, does that not brush off your shoulders as he's stupid and it doesn't relate to me? Or does it continue to say, like, this is how they really see you?
Well, this was well before the Warmth of the Suns. Okay. I was a reporter at the New York Times. This was years ago. So no, this is not the current me experiencing this, although I could, and it would still not.
But still, you're a New York Times reporter, so you're extremely successful at that point already.
Well, I was a young reporter, and the bottom line is I needed to do the story. This is an obstruction from being able to do the pieces I had planned to do. And the thing is that he was excited to be in the interview. He had accepted, we made the appointment. I talked with him over the phone. That was fine. He did not make the connection. He chose to not see, despite all evidence to the contrary, that this had to be the very person he was anxiously awaiting to be interviewed by. And he refused to see that. He just refused to see it. If he hadn't been running late, his running late made it all the more astonishing because the person, we were well into the time frame when we should have been interviewed. That was one of the things I said. I said, we're supposed to be in the middle of an interview. Like, we're wasting time talking about this when I should be interviewing right now. So, to me, that story, that experience taught me how embedded and fixed and unshakable the belief systems are about who should be doing what in our society, who you would be expecting to be in this position, and how firmly it gripped he was in this belief that he actually didn't get the very thing that he wanted. And of course, from the perspective of someone like me, it was kind of, I was flummoxed because I'm just thinking, this is, there have been other times where people did not expect me to be who I was, and they might, one general response is to ask you a lot of questions like, where did you go to school, how long have you been there? There are all kinds of things that they will ask as if they put you in as if you're now in a mini interview, and they don't. Well, it's second nature. It's not even.
It's a resume check. I need to check your resume, which also is like, I need to check your free papers to make sure you belong here.
That's the more common experience. I was accustomed to that. What I wasn't accustomed to was just someone just flat out not believing it at all. And I did not, because I've been a journalist for so long, and I've been trained to not talk about, you don't talk about things you have experienced, because that's not the point. That's not the story. You don't want to be in the story. You don't want to ever be the story. I really was not looking to be speaking about these things. These are not things that I was anxious to be talking about. But I included them because they give you insight into kind of the banality of these intrusions and how it can come out of nowhere when you're not expecting it. And in the end, everyone is hurt by it. He was hurt because if he wanted very clearly to be in the New York Times, so much so that he asked me to leave so he could prepare for the paper to come. New York Times. He wanted to be in it. I, wanted to include him. He wasn't necessary. It was a story that involved many people. And so he just was one, he didn't make it in the story, and the story was fine in the end, but it shapes you in the myth. And when it occurs, you have to think, what is it that just happened? Why would he not recognize this? What is it? What is it?